roots that cannot be replaced.
An essay about attachment, time that never returns, and why families must be strengthened before they are torn apart. There is a quiet idea that has crept into our society. It does not always appear in the law, but it echoes in hallways, in assessment rooms, in professional conversations. It lingers beneath BBI documents, risk evaluations, and forms meant to capture a child's life in boxes and scales. The idea that safety must be perfect to count. That parents must be flawless to be good enough. That a home must be calm, orderly, structured, almost clinical, to be considered acceptable. But real life is not clinical. Children are not templates. Families are not projects. And attachment is not an administrative category. What I write about is something that never fits into an investigation, but determines the course of a life, belonging. Not as a sentimental feeling, but as an existential foundation. As roots, as identity, as the air a child breathes. This is the story of two childhoods in the same family. Two siblings who loved each other. Two paths that should never have diverged so violently. I grew up with my parents. My sister grew up in placements. I am well today. She is no longer alive. That single sentence should make every decision maker pause. Because this is not about statistics. It is about time, about attachment, about everything that cannot be replaced once it is lost. A home that wasn't perfect, but was mine. We had very little, not luxury, not order, not the kind of home that fits social services ideal images. But it was a home, a real home. A home where I knew who my mother was and who my father was. A home where I could be myself. My father was selfish, irresponsible, emotionally absent. He thought mostly of himself. He was there, but not enough. But he treated everyone the same. It wasn't something unique to me. It was his personality. I learned to accept him as he was. I learned not to blame him for what he couldn't give. I learned to greet him, talk to him, meet him, and let that be enough. My mother was good, very good, but she had a temper. She could get angry quickly and calm down just as fast. She struggled to express herself. She was often misunderstood. She could be naively kind and trust people too quickly. But she was my mother. I dared to be myself with her. Neither of them was perfect, but they were mine. It is the sentence many want to skip, but it is the core of everything. They were mine. It is a sentence BBC cannot measure. A sentence that does not fit into a risk assessment. A sentence no investigation can quantify. But it is a sentence that shapes a life. The sibling bond that shaped us. I spent so much time with my sister. We did makeup together. We listened to music. We laughed. I took pictures of her. She was a bright, joyful girl. These may sound like small things, but they are not small things. They are family. They are attachment. They are identity. They are the 1,000 tiny moments no investigation ever sees. A glance. A come here. A shared song. An evening that feels light. That is how relationships are built. That is how roots grow. That is what siblinghood feels like when it is alive. Not a scheduled visit, not a supervised hour, but a woven fabric of everyday life. Being away, but knowing you will come home. I went to summer camp when I was around 11. It was fun, it was exciting, but it was never home.
It was temporary. I knew I would return.
I knew my mother was there. I knew my room was there. I knew where I belonged. That is the difference between an outing and a separation. An outing is carried by the certainty that you will come home. A separation is carried by nothing. That is why children can handle being away for short periods, because home remains a fixed point. When that fixed point is removed, when home is no longer a place you return to, but a place you lose, everything changes. The question at school, and my N.O. I was asked at school if I could imagine being placed in care. I answered with a strong voice, "No, I do not want to leave my family."
It was not a rebellious no.
It was an attachment no. An identity. This is where I belong. It is a no that should weigh heavily in every investigation. But children's voices often weigh lightly. My sister was placed, and everything changed. My sister was younger than me. She was placed when she was 8 or 9. And something happened. She went from being close to us to becoming withdrawn. We drifted apart. Things were never the same again. We were a family before the placement.
After the placement, we were not.
It became a betrayal. Not because anyone wanted to hurt her, but because separation itself is a betrayal of attachment. This is a blind spot in public debate. People talk about protection. People talk about risk. But they do not talk about the injury of separation. A life of interruptions, 65 placements. My sister was moved between 65 different placements. 65. That is not care. That is not safety. That is not stability. It is a series of ruptures, a life without roots. A life where you never land before you are uprooted again. She was medicated, heavily. She became mentally ill. She tried to run away. She tried to take her life. She was exploited. She was broken apart. And all of this happened while she was under the care of the state, while large sums of money were spent on her, while the system called it interventions. One of the most painful truths is this. You can spend all the money in the world on a child, but you cannot buy roots. We thought we would get the time back, but we didn't. I thought we would reclaim the time. I thought we would get a chance to repair. I thought our sibling bond would find its way home again. But it never happened. We never got that time back. Because she died. And that is why I write this. Because time does not return. Because a placement takes time. And time cannot be given back. Research confirms what I have seen. Research is clear. Children in care have far higher use of psychiatric medication than other children. Placement instability doubles the risk of mental illness. Multiple moves are one of the strongest predictors of poor life outcomes. Children who grow up in their biological families, even with imperfections, often fare better than children who grow up in unstable placements. This does not mean all placements are harmful. but it means placement is not neutral.
And unstable placement is a known risk environment.
The law is clear, but practice is not. LVU is meant to be used when voluntary care is impossible and when a child is at risk of harm. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child says separation may only occur when it is necessary. But in practice, the threshold has dropped. Small flaws become big words. Imperfection becomes risk. Stress becomes neglect. Conflict becomes danger. And children lose their roots. What society should do instead? When the issues are small, communication, temperament, stress, finances, relationship struggles, society should provide parental support. Providers. Provide support persons. Provide family therapy. Provide financial assistance. Provide continuity. Build trust. Not tear apart. Not uproot. Not create rootlessness. Comma. What I want people to understand. I want people to understand that displacement is not just a solution. It can be a wound. Time taken from a child can never be returned. Attachment cannot be replaced by professional competence. Siblinghood requires everyday life, not scheduled visits. Safety can exist in a home that is not perfect. Rootlessness can be created by a system that believes it is protecting. No parent is perfect, but many children thrive anyway. And above all, when the flaws are small, families must be strengthened, not split. The image that must never be forgotten. I can summarize everything in one image. Two sisters. Makeup. Music. Laughter. A home that was thin but theirs. Then a rupture. 65 moves. Medication. Rootlessness. A sister who died before the lost time could be reclaimed. There is one sentence that should stand above every LVU decision involving small flaws.
A placement takes time, and time cannot be given back.